Welcome to the second video of this workflow series. In this video, we're going to be using Zbrush and Blender. In Zbrush, we're going to refine our mesh, create a high poly version and a low poly version. Then we start by exporting from Blender, and then it is important to ensure the origin of the mesh is aligned with the mesh for comfortability of navigation. When you fix this issue by going to edit mode and look at the origin and move the mesh to align it properly. Make sure you are on the right view when you're aligning your mesh with your origin point. After all that, we start exporting by going to File and click the file of our choice. But a OBGA is always the perfect file for Zbrush. Make sure your mesh is selected when you are about to export and put the same attributes that I put on my exporting settings to avoid errors or any. Then you can export your file. And don't worry about scaling, because this tutorial is about workflow, not about scaling. You will learn stuff. Sorry about the inconvenience of loading. This is my first video series, so I didn't know how to pause the recording software that I'm using. So sorry for the inconvenience. And sorry for the accent, because I'm a native Xhosa speaker. So sorry for the accent. So I'm working on putting subtitles in the video. To clear Zbrush canvas, just go to Layers, click Import in Zbrush, and navigate to your exported mesh from. Then select and import to Zbrush. If you are a beginner in Zbrush, just do exactly as I'm. There will be a video series just dedicated to Zbrush only. Now, let's refine our mesh using Zbrush Sophisticated. Now, let's select Matte Cap White Cavity to see edges of our mesh. Now, navigate to Dynamesh to make the quads of our mesh even without losing the original shape. Then, you can select the resolution of your mesh. You can put any number, but don't put it too high, because it will fill up your RAM and you end up crashing Zbrush, or your computer, the entire computer can freeze. Then play around with the resolution of Dynamesh. If you see a suitable number for your mesh, then select it and use. Then you can go to Geometry and navigate to Clay Polish to make your mesh look sharp, because we're creating sharp rocks, as you remember in the beginning of the series. But remember, this is a workflow tutorial. Be careful when you are polishing your mesh. Select a suitable number. Don't make it over sharp, because there is no such thing as a razor sharp object in real world, especially in nature, in organic objects around the world. In this one, your judgment in these settings is what will deliver the outcome. Don't do exactly as I. Hey guys, yeah, it is that time to duplicate our mesh to create 2 copies of it. Navigate to Subtool and select Duplicate. Now we have 2 copies of our. Now go to Remesh to re-topologize our rock, so that we can project the details from the above duplicate. So subdivide your mesh to a suitable number, so that you wouldn't lose any detail from the in order to project details from the mesh that you duplicated from, you must go to Subtool and select Project and click Project All. You don't have to worry about any of these settings, but make sure that the mesh that you're projecting from, the mesh that you are projecting into must be a little lesser than the original mesh or equal to the original mesh. Yeah, let's play around with these settings and see which ones are going to be suitable for this one. It's that time to export the high poly version of our mesh, which we're going to use later to bake detail from. Make sure you are on the highest subdivision to export high poly version of our mesh. It's important to zoom in and check that the quads are visible in Zbrush. If the quads are visible, subdivide your mesh again. And re-export your high poly to the same high poly that you exported to. Select the lowest subdivision of our mesh. It's time to export the low poly version of our mesh. This one is going to be the one that's going to be used, and the high poly version, we're going to bake the detail found on it into maps that are going to be applied on this mesh version. This one is important for game engines and rendering where performance is essential. And always save your ZBrush versions of your files, because this mesh we're going to be using it later to add some more details on it on another tutorial, on another series. Just save the backup of the file to ensure if there are some issues so that you can recover it and fix those. Create two collections named high and low to store the meshes that we exported from ZBrush. And import meshes by selecting File and go to Import Meshes. And select the same attributes on the right side that are selected just to avoid width errors. Then select the collection corresponding to the mesh that you are going to import. You can use Rignified skeleton to scale your rock into appropriate size that you initially visualized when you were creating this rock. Congratulations, you have completed refining your mesh using Blender and Zbrush. In the next tutorial, we are going to UV unwrap our mesh and bake maps from the high poly version to be used on the low poly version of our mesh and set. Thank you very much, guys. This is the end of the video. Thank you for supporting me and thank you for watching this series. I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, to share these videos, and to support me in Patreon page. Thank you very much. The Facebook group that I was going to create, guys, is in the description, including my Patreon page is in the description. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video.